Well, good afternoon, guys. I am back on the site of my Myrtle Spurge removal here to finish the job. Set of plants up there. One of the first things I noticed, however, is that some idiot broke up my pile of Myrtle Spurge I had piled right here. So I scattered it all about here. So now it's covering a lot more plants. And I don't know why he did that. It was a perfectly fine spot. Maybe someone thought it looked ugly, but now I think this looks way worse. And it's I originally placed everything in a pile where it wouldn't be covering anything aside from some invasive grasses, and now it's looks like it's bearing some native plants. So I'm just gonna try and put everything back really quick. But yeah, I'm here to finish the job. This time I'm wearing proper gear, a long sleeve shirt and long pants. I actually did get burned by the Myrtle Spurge last time I was up here pulling it. Not badly, but enough to cause some blisters. It's about typically what you expect. Some more plants right here. So yeah, I'll be back to pull in just a second after I fix this up. All right, so now that that's fixed up and there's some Myrtle Spurge behind where I might have to weed, at least fix up a little bit, I'm going to focus on the main thing today, which is up here and there behind the poison ivy. Let's get started. A Myrtle Spurge, if you don't know already, I suggest watching my video on how to remove it because it's a very nauseous weed. It's a member of the family Euphorbiaceae. Scientific name actually is Euphorbia myrsinites. And this plant is known for as being a very aggressive invasive in the Intermountain West and some other parts of the world. But definitely around here in Utah, for instance, and Colorado, Oregon, British Columbia, all sorts of places where it just grows very aggressively because it's a strong competitor and has no native species that can control it, like it most likely does in its natural habitat around the eastern Mediterranean. And it produces, like most species of Euphorbia, a very toxic, harsh latex sap that can cause chemical burns. And I personally experienced this. It didn't hurt super bad. It's got some on the crook of my elbow. But the next day, after weeding all this Myrtle Spurge up here, what happened was has some red raised areas and a few blisters, and I unfortunately popped a few of them before I realized what had caused it, and those ones ended up scarring just a little bit, while the rest of it I didn't mess with, went away. So if you do get blisters from it, that's what I recommend, just not touching it too much. But better than not touching the blisters is not getting them in the first place. And to do that, you gotta make sure you're covered up. Wear gloves. I prefer rubber gloves instead of typical work gloves, even though they're gonna tear, because it's just regular work gloves will get totally gunked up by the latex sap. So you might as well just use disposable ones because you're going to ruin any gloves you do use. So yeah, I think most people, there's an increasing awareness around here that Myrtle Spurge is an invasive, problematic plant. Well, it does have a few defenders. Like on my video I made on how to actually safely remove the plant, some idiot tried to argue with me about how it's not actually an invasive weed because it's never spread in their yard. It doesn't actually cause burns. I think they're just trolling me, but it was my first ever YouTube troll, but I couldn't believe what I was reading. So I honestly was tempted to just keep arguing with them, but I only did it for a couple of exchanges before I just gave up on them. It's just not worth it sometimes. But I think most people recognize that though it is an attractive, sort of handsome plant, sorry about my finger being in frame, it is a problem weed that needs to go. I'll put my phone for a second and just focus on weeding. Now the trick with Myrtle Spurge is you want to get as much of the stems growing out of the root or caudex, which is basically a woody root, as possible, so you have the lowest chance of actually breaking it. When you pull it out like here, I got 2 plants actually, it won't grow back. Of course, if you do break the root and you can't dig it back up, in that case, I recommend actually using a shovel if it's just in your yard, to then finish digging it out. But if you really can't get it, it will grow back, but at least you set the plant back a little bit and you can try again later at least. If you keep plucking the stems off, it will eventually die because it needs them to photosynthesize, but it's really just so much preferable to just pull them off right at once to begin with. Now, of course, since these plants already set seed, there's most likely to be in a few months or by next year a bunch of little plants germinating, so I'll have to come back and take care of them, or else we'll be back to the situation we started with. But for right now, this will be good enough and give the native plants here, mainly the berberis repens, and a few others a great chance at growing again without being buried by this menace. Infinite break. These really large ones can actually be easier to remove than smaller ones because it's just you get the whole thing up in one pull, and they don't grow underneath each other when they're like that. So work can go quite quickly. And it just doesn't quit. Every time I think I got a patch done, I find even more. Like now there's some back there, as well as down there. So this might take a while. It will need to be a third video. Break. I hope I can see this plant in its native habitat one time, at least once, just so I can maybe appreciate it a little more. Because I really am not a fan of most non-native species, even if they aren't that invasive like this one is. But yeah. I actually, when I was weeding this last time, I got some poison ivy rash as well, and I could tell it was different from the Myrtle Spurge because it didn't hurt to the touch. It was just very itchy, while the Myrtle Spurge burn on my elbow was rather sensitive to the touch. Not painful, but definitely sensitive. And my gloves are already tearing, but they're lasting longer than last time, which is nice. There's any tricky ones. Okay, good break. And that I had to actually treat with prednisone because yeah, it was just not getting better. I waited long enough that I got a nice scar on my arm at one place where it developed. Actually, I'm not normally very sensitive poison ivy. In fact, right after I was so worried I'd lost my relative resistance to it, I actually found a poison ivy plant and just touched it a bunch, like on my arm and leg, and nothing happened there. So I think I must have broke the actual leaf or leaf or stems of the plant when I was rummaging through the poison ivy and then got hit with it. Oh well, it happens to everyone eventually. Really quickly, I'm going to take a break to wash my hand. All these wasps are enjoying the water as well. I don't think they'll bother me though. Speaking of non-natives, these wasps most likely I just introduced hornets or paper wasps. I can't remember which ones they are, or yellow jackets. I doubt they're native species, but whatever. Only so much you can do. Now for the finale, I gotta weed this Myrtle Spurge growing amongst all this poison ivy. Western poison ivy in particular, the Toxicodendron Rydbergii. You know, I actually like this plant kind of, I like it quite a lot actually. I think it's a very cool one. I don't blame it for the fact that it does what it does. Oh, this might be one really big plant actually. Oh yeah, it's gonna be great. Well, that's huge. Oh, I feel like I'm holding a whole tree trunk. Okay. I want to film this. I'm going to flip which way I hold my camera. Okay. Try with my right arm. Oh gosh, I don't think I can get it all up. Yeah. I want to show you guys me pulling this plant up, but it's going to be so difficult. Okay, now it snapped. Shoot. Jesus. Please come up the rest of it. See, that's how thick the root is. That thing right there, it's like a... Ah, that broke again. It also gets a toxic sap everywhere, which I really dislike. That's no reason why you don't want to break them. You minimize exposure to the sap when you... No, you keep it intact. Okay, I'm gonna stop filming until I get this done. So that's all of it uprooted. I don't think I got any poison ivy on me. Oh, I got a little bit. I really hope I didn't. I still don't have to deal with this damn thing. This big stem is gonna be an issue if I don't get it out. Okay, that was a lot of it at least. And oh, maybe I'll die at that stage. I'll be back. But that's the conclusion, at least for now. I'm gonna have to make a part 3 to take care of the plants. over that way behind the pile. But I think I did pretty good. Got everything around here at least. There's always be some seeds, however, I think coming down from the rocks up ahead, or I mean up above, because just how it is. I love growing in rocky areas, and that's way harder to weed up there. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.